For the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, guys. Item 2, public comments. Anybody wishing to address the council on items not on the agenda? Step forward to the podium. Seeing no one come forward. Item 3, approval of the agenda. Yep. Motion and second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion does carry. Item 4, consent agenda.
I'll move.
Motion and second to approve on the consent agenda. Issues or concerns?
I'd like to have just one discussion point on G.
Well, let's just talk about G and we'll go to them all at once. What's your concern? Go ahead,
What's that?
Bob. What's your concern? We'll talk about G right now.
Oh, I, in that job description, I noticed there was nothing about tools. You know, in most mechanical positions, you know, the person that comes in brings their own hand tools. And I'm not sure if the maintenance shop is equipped with the proper hand tools for a mechanic. I mean, I'm a mechanic and I know there's a vast amount of tools that you need just to fix anything.
Yep, so we do have some money set aside to purchase tools, and then it's about a 5-year process to purchase additional equipment, tire changing stations, different stuff like that, so.
Okay, is that gonna be upfront right away, or is that a over
5-year process.
5-year process?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, like AC units, you know, you name it.
Yeah, with all the, you know, electronic testing and stuff like
Yep.
that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we try to spread it out, you know.
Okay.
Other questions?
So I think possibly, Ryan, what Bob might be getting to is that when you hire this person, they're gonna make an immediate impact, yes?
Yes.
In what way?
Well, first and foremost, we're gonna save on hourly shop rates on 100-plus pieces of equipment within the city. I'm gonna buy back, you know, time from my personnel that are performing light maintenance right now. So, professional services, you know, if you tally it all up, you know, we're spending close to $100K a year.
Thank you.
Yep.
One more question on
Yep.
the tools. What's your 5-year budget on tools? Just if you're in the I wanna see if you're in the ballpark.
You know, Bob, I can't answer that
How
off
would
the
you
top of your head. We do have, can't remember what we have set aside just for this year. But we're, you know, purchasing a lift. We do have, money set aside for hand tools. Yeah, diagnostic computer was this year, and then I think next year was tire changing station. And then,
I mean, hand tools are on you 20, 30 grand.
yeah, if you go.
For the proper.
If you go
what
with
you
Mac,
need.
yeah.
You know, your chest, your tools that you need just to do normal maintenance.
And we do currently have a somewhat of an inventory of tools, just because of the maintenance we've been performing over the last years, so.
So it's probably 150,000 through the 5-year period.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Other questions? Motion and second, approving the consent agenda A through G. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion does carry. Item 5, special event, street closure. Boom.
A special event permit application was received from Millstream Arts Festival, Inc. The festival is scheduled for Sunday, August 28th. Part of the request is to close a portion of College Avenue from Minnesota Street to Ash Street. And notices were sent to property owners along that closure route. The closure is requested from 6 a.m. until 7 p.m. on the 28th. No comments were received from the notices sent from those property owners. The applicant's also requesting that the $150 special event fee be waived, and the applicants are present this evening should you have any questions.
Very good, thank you. Counselors?
I noticed that they're changing the street area. Is that because it's probably, are you choosing it because it's not as busy as the Minnesota street, or, and I don't, are they supposed to come to the, if,
Yes, please
Yes.
come to the podium if you
if
want to
anybody
respond,
could speak
or
on it, that would be great. Thank you.
you can stay there too, but we like to hear your voice.
Yes.
Members of the council, I'm Mary DiGiovanni. I have Danielle Taylor and Mary Deep here also representing Maelstrom Arts Festival. We've used College Avenue before in combination with Minnesota Street, so we've had this section closed. It is partially what you're saying. The biggest, I wouldn't even call it a conflict, but the biggest, I think, burden we ever created was the church traffic. So when we closed Minnesota Street, that parking lot became closed, and we'd either have to have people manning a temporary gate to let church traffic
Oh, so you want to
through.
utilize the
Yeah.
parking area? Ah, got it,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I never saw the problem, but you guys are behind the
Yeah,
scenes, so
yeah.
I completely understand
Yeah.
that.
So
And
for-
so you're just gonna do, you just want that one then, instead of Minnesota and both?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
When were the notices sent out, did you say? To the businesses?
I don't have that date. It was more than 2 weeks prior though,
2
to
weeks
tonight's meeting, yeah.
Okay. Just inquiring, if no one responding, if they had ample time, or if there's any problems with some of the businesses around the block that might get blocked off during that time, but,
We do tend to work with them, and I can tell you, we actually made contact with each of them last year during the night market, and College wasn't closed, but we just wanted feedback on how they were doing, and they were all really thrilled with the night
Okay.
market, so.
great, thank you.
And may I ask why you wanted to waive the 150?
We haven't ever paid a fee to the city, and our rationale, and I hope it's been your rationale, is that we're not a fundraiser for any event. We're not, no one is paid, we're all volunteer. So really, it's really all about St. Joe and your economic development efforts and bringing people to St. Joe, and so it all benefits the businesses. So we make the event happen through a grant, usually from the Arts Board, and then the rest is all private donations. So the very businesses that we get donations from in St. Joe, we'd be turning around and asking for the fee
Do the
for the
vendors
city,
pay a
if that
fee?
makes sense. Pardon me?
Do the vendors pay a fee?
The vendor fees also go toward the festival. Yep, that's what pays musicians. We pay to insure the event. We pay to promote the event. So there's no money going, there's no money going to any staff, and there's no money going to any cause. We're not a fundraiser.
Mr. Klusner?
Well, like the church pays a fee.
So you've moved it from the end of September to the end of August because?
You want to speak to that one? I think we've,
I'm not saying it's a bad idea, I'm just wondering what the rationale is.
The end of September, weather-wise, it's a little bit more problematic. It has been historically on that day and at the end of September since the 80s. And so, it was kind of a tough decision, but having the night market last year, just having it in the summer proved to be so successful. And also that last weekend in September, there are other things going on that just kind of, we felt were pulling away from Millstream a little bit too much. So this is gonna be, weather-wise, it'll be better, WASP-wise, it'll be better, and people will still be, hopefully, in summer mode. Students will be back, or the college students will be around, so we're just trying it, seeing how it works, making it a little fresh, starting something different.
Good.
One other thing, throughout the day, obviously you're gonna have music. What type of music is more acoustic, more one-man, two-man bands, full bands?
Traditionally, we have a little of everything. Tends to be folk music. It's not acoustic, and we are cognizant of noise levels. Our artists have to be able to hear their customers, so that is still sort of under development, the configuration of that, but
Okay, Cause yeah, I was just, in looking at it, it looks like you have your music tent, which is all the way butted up to Ash Street. And my only concern was, you know, the residents across that way, just to be mindful and
Right.
kinda how that music is being played and how loud and,
Right, oh, sure.
you know, those different types of things, although it's, I know during the day, but that would be my only concern with your residents that are butted up right there to Ash Street.
There's a possibility that we may, request, just a real portion of the alleyway where, you know, somewhere along College where we could just tuck the music tent, and that will allow us more artists to be out on the street.
Okay.
Like I said, it's still in the planning stages for that.
So this isn't set in stone?
Not totally.
Staff may recall this, when we were doing the night market closure, that actual alley closure was at the parking lot for, I'm not even sure what that development is, the second Millstream development, I would call it, where Crew Restaurant is on the base floor and those condos or apartments are on the second floor, so their parking lot.
Yep.
Yeah, the barricade, actually went so that people wouldn't come all the way down and have to back out. They'd go through the parking lot. So the only discussion, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, we've had is the La Playa is open to having that band
In that
partially
alleyway?
in their parking lot.
Yep,
So that'd be,
yeah,
Yeah.
kinda like what you did, you know, was it last year, every week?
Maybe not that far back.
Right, maybe a little, okay.
If you're all gonna speak, you gotta be able to hear you. The entire audience is listening, the entire St. Joe population is listening.
we can work with your staff on that. I know we
Yeah.
get suggestions from Public Works on what would work better, but I
Sure.
know Ann at the law is open to that, and we'd still be facing it toward
Okay.
the street, and
Yeah,
that could be a more central location.
yeah.
The music is really low-key. It's not really amplified to a point.
I don't think so.
You know,
So
no,
we're not a
it's,
rock.
it's
yeah.
mostly
No.
guitars and
No.
a little bit of,
Yeah.
you know, kumbaya type stuff and whatever. But I do recall from last year, there was an incident where you moved over to where you weren't allowed to, over into the bad habit area. I don't know if anybody recalls that, that's on the council.
I do.
That was a no-no.
The permit didn't allow you to move the location. You moved from the alley over to Bad Habit parking lot for the last one. It was a violation of your permit.
No, we didn't realize that. We thought Bad Habit had a,
No, we
No.
didn't realize it though, that it was a violation.
We just don't want you to move. You have a one-day street closure.
one day,
Right.
yep.
And,
Exactly.
and I know your plans are changing, but, I mean, I'll authorize a street closure, but I mean, how much more space you're gonna take? What's it gonna finally look like? It's tough for me to approve it, not knowing what the final, what the final configuration is.
Well, that would be my next question then, is if they do change it, if we okay it tonight, then they'd have to bring that back to us then, correct?
I would assume they'd have to come back. I don't know.
Or could we
I mean,
approve it
just
contingent
admit-
upon final plans?
Well, if they come back and they want to close, for example, a certain portion of the alleyway, then that would come back to council, that would need to, but would be an easy process.
Okay.
I wouldn't be too concerned about that. So tonight I would ask that you just approve as they're proposing.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Another one? Yes, Kevin.
So, like, are the antique cars and tractors not gonna be part of the program? Which is fine, I'm just trying
Yeah.
to, so you're shrinking it down to what it is you do.
And we're not going to have a food court, and so that also, makes College Avenue more of a benefit because that's where most of the
Yeah.
restaurants are.
Yeah,
And
no, I
food
think it's
shops.
good to focus it.
And so we're gonna encourage people to go to the shop, the restaurants and things.
My question is, if you're not utilizing the church parking lot, or are you utilizing the church parking lot? So where are people parking?
I guess what I meant is the, what would you call it? Not the shared lot between, I'm not even sure who owns the lot where I would consider the Bello Cucina parking.
Church, church parking lot.
Church and partially the Sisters of St. Benedict, I
Yep.
think, own a part of it. So that's not the lot we're referring to. That one was never in conflict. That worked fine for the church. It was the parking lot right in front of the church, so churchgoers would need to access it to get
Yep.
to church. Does that make sense?
It does.
That was where we were creating kind of we'd have to move gates or not let people park there.
Yep, and
So
I
that
get,
was a hardship for the church.
and my concern is that in past, you've isolated Minnesota Street where that parking lot is, and now you're not, so now there's traffic going back and forth across the street. Minnesota traffic going east and west.
Yeah,
People going north and south.
yeah.
what's your plan for controlling traffic and controlling people? Because that's a safety hazard that just came out of nowhere.
On Minnesota Street?
Yeah, you're not closing Minnesota, right?
Right.
Right.
But they're parking in the church parking lot potentially to walk down to College, which is crossing Minnesota to College,
Right.
which is a hazard you didn't have last year, and you didn't have it when you had Millstream and closed Minnesota.
I guess I'm not, maybe I'm not picking up, yeah, right.
Right.
Yep, and they park all, I mean, if you guys have seen it before, there's cars, we're not the
Yep.
4th of July, but there's
Yep.
cars parked all
Absolutely.
over.
But this used to be a primary parking lot.
Yeah.
When you closed all of Minnesota, and there was never a danger of crossing Minnesota to College.
Right,
And that exists today.
except that it's a four-way stop with a pedestrian crossing.
Right. I mean, if
I
you
totally
would,
get it, but it's new because it's a new hazard you're introducing by not closing Minnesota.
if there's a preference that we close
I
Minnesota.
don't know. I'm asking,
We weren't
I'm gonna
seeing that.
defer to, I don't know. I just see, again, I'm just trying to avoid conflict.
Yeah,
And
we see the
it's-
festival being set
I
up in
still see
College.
people coming to that parking lot and parking there.
Sure, of course.
And I still see they're gonna have to cross to get across Minnesota, which is probably the busiest intersection in downtown.
Should we be in touch with the police department, or?
Should they, Dwight? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
you're gonna have a high volume of traffic,
Yeah.
there's no doubt downtown, so.
I mean, if you're expecting, what does it say in the thing, 3 to 5?
Yeah.
So, that's a lot of people in a short period of time in a congested area.
I mean,
That's
even,
all I'm
even coming up
bringing-
with volunteers that would help regulate back and forth, I mean, if it comes down to it, there's a lot of people, you might have to have some kind of crossing guards or something along that lines if it's gonna be busy.
Saying something you may want to consider because it's a new hazard that's introduced by not closing Minnesota. Other questions or concerns? Then I'll look for a motion.
I can move to approve the special event application waiving the $150 fee.
Motion and second, moving forward with the special event, street closure request as exists on this paper, and waiving the 150 fee. Further questions or concerns? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Nay.
Thank you.
Item 6, CSBSJU MOU.
On that last vote, was it 3-2?
No.
Wasn't it 5-0?
I think it was 3-2.
3-2.
Kevin and Bob,
Said no?
Councilmember Loso voted nay.
3-2.
3-2, okay.
Item 6, MOU.
Yeah, CSB SU, they're requesting approval of a memorandum of understanding to carry out a program through the U.S. Department of Justice for a grant. It's the Violence Against Women Campus Grant. And tonight we have Danny Lindner, she's the grant coordinator here to provide an overview of the grant.
Good evening. I'm Danny. I work with the College of St. Ben's, St. John's University as a project director for this particular grant funded through the Office on Violence Against Women. Its focus is specifically on college campuses, and its intention is to enhance response to and improve response to crime victims around sexual assault, domestic dating violence, and stalking, as well as work toward a more comprehensive primary prevention focus. We are in the process of applying for a second grant. We have an existing grant right now that ends September 30th of this year, so we've been in it, it's a 3-year cycle. I just came into the position myself in February, so I hope I can answer any questions. I'll do my best. So this second grant would run October 1 of 2022 until September 30th of 2025. So they're 3-year cycles. It's a $300,000 grant to allow us to carry out the efforts. And there's an existing MOU with the City of St. Joseph Police Department. The chief does serve on our coordinated community response team, which is a required component of the grant, asking internal and external folks from both on and off campus to come together to talk about what are some of the best ways that we can move some of these grant efforts forward. And so the MOU is a cooperative agreement to help us carry out the grant.
Yeah, go ahead,
So
Jim.
currently, the grant that you currently have for the 3 years does end in September,
Correct,
and you've already applied for the next one.
almost.
Okay. Usually does get granted, I would assume, but is there any inkling that it would not?
I think, the reality is, yes, of course, we could not get it. Part of what they look for in renewal grant applications is how are we going to enhance the existing work? We've definitely been pretty good about writing in some specific things around improving our work with underserved populations on our college campus, to include BIPOC students, LGBTQ+ students, international students. We have a pretty good, large population of international students. And there's one other one. Oh, it's students with disabilities. So those are the 4 main areas that we're looking to try to build up more in our second grant. And then continue to focus on primary prevention. We have some really cool ideas around, we don't have anything set in stone, but some really evidence-based 4-year primary prevention kind of focus. As well as we have a new MOU partner this year on this MOU, Anna Marie's Alliance. So we're also inviting them to the table to bring that lens in the work they do. We've been partners with Central Minnesota Sexual Assault Center through the term of the existing grant. So they're a new partner. So we really are trying to broaden and figure out where are our gaps and what can we do to try to fill those.
Great. When is the grant application renewal due?
April 26th. Our goal is to submit it on April 22nd,
When would you find out if you get the grant?
October 1st.
Okay.
That's the reality of
Yep. That's
federal
what I have.
government. The current one too, just as a side note, because of COVID, there was not as much spending on travel dollars as was budgeted. And those extra dollars can be used to request a no-cost extension, they call it. So we are going to apply for an extension through the end of this year for the current grant, just because we will have those excess funds. If we are still funded for the second grant, there's that little bit of an overlap. We don't lose anything, there's just a way they spend down one before they spend into the other. It's just, yeah.
Thank you.
I'll
Is this-
move to move the MOU for this grant.
Second?
Motion and second to move the MOU. I have a question. Is this solely CSB SJU?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
And so you've been doing it for 3 years. Is there any way to find out exactly what you've done somehow?
Absolutely. We could certainly, we send.
Again, I'm not trying to pry. I know Chief is involved, but,
Yeah,
I mean, this will be 6 years and it's really isolated to CSB campus. So it'd be nice if we get the word out, we're doing this and this is what's been accomplished. And
yep. I think that's a great idea, and I would be happy to work with any of you on getting you some information, and maybe there's some information we could get out to the general public.
Yeah,
I think
I
that
think
would be
that-
great.
I do, I think that's really good. And I'd say Teresa or Kayla would be your contacts for some kind of
Awesome.
general that we could post, maybe newsletter or something. Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you. Motion and second approving the MOU. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion does carry. Thank you.
Okay. And I will follow up with you to get the actual signatures. That won't happen tonight. Can I leave it with you tonight? We have to get it on the same one that others have already signed.
Oh, yep, you can leave that with me.
Okay, should I bring it up to you now?
Want to sign it right now?
We would scan it in our system though.
Okay, very good. Okay, item 7, Fire Hall Technology. Updates.
All right, so included in your packet is a quote provided by Touchpoint Logic for technology updates to the community space at the fire hall. Upgrades include installation of a projector and sound system, and it would operate similar to what is going to be installed in the multipurpose room. Touchpoint will be responsible for configuring and programming the system. And staff is proposing that the technology upgrades be funded by using ARPA dollars. And that is consistent with the other technology updates to the Government Center and Public Works facility.
I move to approve the Touchpoint Logic LLC quote as presented using the ARPA funds.
Second?
Motion and second. Move approving Touchpoint Logic LLC and the upgraded technology in the fire hall. Questions or concerns? So my question is, who operates it or how is it operated? Is it Jeff the guy? I mean, to run the thing, to go out and turn it on, turn it off, make sure the mics are running, whatever. Is it turnkey? Anybody can go in there and do it?
It's user-friendly.
Yeah.
So
Like
Jeff
this one
would-
is user-friendly? Well,
If you know how to use
I
it.
remember I turned the microphones on and the shades went up. I don't know. You know, I just want to
Yeah.
make sure that it's comfortable enough so that the people that are going to be using it,
Right,
There's
and
a
we can ask
manual that-
them to provide training too.
Okay, very good.
As needed.
okay. I just want to make sure that it is kind of a turnkey operation that go in and it's pretty simple. Okay.
It's gonna be similar to what we're getting in Public Works, right?
No, that's not turnkey. You got to really go to training.
I was just gonna say, if we can operate it, anyone can.
There'll be some similarities, but it'll mostly be like what's gonna be put in
Okay.
multipurpose room. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Motion and second approving the Touchpoint Logic bid. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, thank you. Item 8, Randy.
No formal report this year.
I look over the right way, go.
I know that you're hoping for, right? We do have the bid opening for the street improvements at the end of this month, and so we'll be canvassing those bid results with the council at your first meeting in May. So more to report.
Any questions for Randy? Very good, thank you. Let's see, department reports. Therese?
Yeah, so Mayor and Council, there's been a lot of work on the community center project, Goldman Construction. They provided the preliminary cost estimates for the community center. I've been working closely with Heartsook Fundraising, along with Lori as well on future bonding of that. Heartsook, as you know, conducted interviews last week, and they'll be conducting more interviews. So we're looking at the last week in April, doing a couple of days, first week in May, doing a couple of days, and then the third week in May as well, getting a lot of interviews completed. I worked with SEH staff on preparing the congressional directed spending applications, so we got those out last week. Jeff and I attended a meeting with the area cities of Sartell, Park, and St. Cloud on completing that fire study that we've been talking about for a long time. Next Wednesday we have, or is that this Wednesday, Jeff? 27th. Next Wednesday, we have a meeting, again, to review a proposal. Lori and I met with the townships of St. Joseph and St. Wendell in regards to our fire contract. They did ask for us to extend that, so we will be bringing that forth to extend that through the end of December, so it'll allow us time to negotiate that contract. We had staff meeting on rental discussion, and then I met with the personnel committee last week on staffing and completing a compensation study, which we will discuss at our next city council work session, which is actually next Tuesday. You'll see from my staff memo I put the 22nd. That's a mistake, 26th. Next Tuesday, 5:30. That's all I have.
Any questions for Therese?
Therese, this is a really petty thing.
You spelled something wrong? No.
Yes.
Oh, that, guessing.
It says to honorable mayor, it's honorable.
Really?
All right, I want to know just a little bit more about,
Man, oh, man.
I know, and this will come back to
I'm
you.
picky.
You
Chief.
are, that's good.
Chief
And
Taufman.
that
but-
that's probably been on there for months, cause I just.
It has. I just
I'm-
finally noticed it. I compare it to all the other departments.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
it's
would-
being spelled wrong. It bugs me.
Correct, I would've just taken the former
Wow.
template.
Tough crowd. Thank you, Therese.
I'll wait until your report, because I want to.
Nate, community development?
Yeah, hopefully I hit spell check on my report, but good evening, Mayor and Council. So just a couple of things I'll go over here. So have an upcoming meeting at the end of this week, actually, with a developer regarding the boutique hotel EDA priority. So that will occur on Friday. The Planning Commission met last week and continued the discussion on wedding and special events in the rural residential area. We did receive a formal ordinance application for that intended change. So with that, we conducted a public hearing at the last Planning Commission meeting. A couple of residents spoke with some concerns regarding the ordinance amendment, and then the commission did vote 5-2 to deny the proposed ordinance amendment. And it's anticipated that that will be presented to the council at your first May meeting. We submitted the grant for East Park by the March 31st deadline. Awards will be announced early summer for that. We've held a couple of retention visits. We had one with the Estates Bed and Breakfast, and then earlier this afternoon, we had one with Woodcrest. We've had a couple of rental discussions. We're gonna be sending off rental renewal notices at the end of this month. And I attended a event through the GSDC called the Innovation Awards. That was held in Sauk Rapids on the 7th. And that is kind of the highlights. Any questions, concerns? Yes. Uh-oh.
I learned earlier today that East Park is a placeholder name. It's not the official name of our park.
So it's the name we refer it to, but it's essentially, for all practical purposes, kind of a placeholder name.
And when does the city plan to name the park? And how will that happen?
We could do it a variety of different ways. Park Board could discuss, during the master park plan that we conducted for the park, one of the questions that was asked in there was, what is a name suggestion? So there's a whole list of different names that people came up with. So, I mean, the Park Board could discuss it, help decide, forward a recommendation to the council. We could get community input, could put out 5 names that maybe the Park Board likes, put it out there for a vote. Lots of different ways we could go about it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I thought that name was locked in, but it's still open for discussion.
Yeah, for all practical purposes, that's what we refer to until we decide on a different. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Could still be its name.
I know it could, but we could call it Southeast.
Thank you, Nate.
You're welcome.
Jeff, fire department?
All right, not a lot. You can see our call volume is still on the rise. This is as of last week. Under membership, we had 1 member resign April 4th, moving out of the area. Puts us down to 23 active members with another 1 on family leave until June. And we are doing interviews and agility testing tomorrow night. It says 2, but we were able to get 3 more applicants applied last week, so we'll be doing 5 interviews and applications tomorrow night with potential of hiring up to 5.
You're trying to get, how many?
We're short 7,
Oh, okay.
so as many as we can get. The rescue van, we've been working with Therese, with some issues with the fire board, figuring that out, where we're gonna be at, so, we're still working on that. There is some still interest in some other departments looking at our van. Now I heard a second one interested in it, so hopefully we can make this happen and get the sealed bids out. The new pumper tanker, chatted with him, January, as long as all the materials stay coming in needed to build our truck. Should be here January of 2023. Our grass rig committee met, getting numbers together. It's gonna be right around the 1 to 120 mark. The big issue is gonna be able to find a chassis Ford GM chassis are out until sometime in 2023. So there are some other options there. Again, me and Teresa met with neighboring departments on the fire study meeting. We'll be meeting again next week to hopefully get a better idea and move forward. And upcoming events, we got a mutual aid meeting this Thursday, MSFDA memorial service for Andy this Saturday in Wilmer, fire board meeting May 9th, and then our monthly meetings and drills. Any questions?
So,
You're not-
Chief, at a mutual aid meeting in Sartell, how many departments show up and, I mean, what do you talk about?
There's 14 departments. Typically, there's anywhere from 12 to 14 departments actually make it there that night. We talk about cross-training, equipment purchases together if need be. Talk about mutual aid calls that we've been on, any upcoming new items that are coming down the pipe for firefighters. We meet 4 times a year.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah, so just a couple things. I know Therese and yourself met on the fire study, maybe just more in-depth. I know, is it just the St. Cloud chief is looking at reaching out for proposals? Is that the only thing that came of that meeting? Was there anything else that came
He's
out of that
got
meeting?
a little more knowledge and he's done this before, so
Okay.
Pete from Sartell was working on it, and now that St. Cloud is kind of wanting to join in, he decided he's got more time and more experience with it to find maybe the right company to look at or getting some bids on it, so.
And was there a deadline of when he was gonna? get
Well,
back
we
to-
kind of set a deadline of meeting next Wednesday again to
Okay.
keep the ball rolling.
Okay. And then, as far as your interviews, who does all your interviews for the new firefighters?
There's a committee of 5 members.
Okay.
We ask the questions, do the agility test with about everyone in the department comes to help out on that part of it. Then the 5 members make a recommendation to the fire board and the city council.
Okay.
So if you don't get the chassis by the middle of 2023, what does that mean then? You don't
For the
get it-
grass rig,
Yeah, for the grass.
means
rig.
we still use the one we got, you
And
know.
it's like
It's,
duct tape and chewing gum to hold it together?
it's
or-
not that bad. I mean, there's some issues that we wanna, you know, hopefully get to something
Well-
newer before we have major issues. Our biggest major issue was 7 years ago, 8 years ago, the rear end went out. And that model rear end, they don't make anymore. So we had to put a used rear end from a junkyard into that truck. So the brakes are so-so. I mean, they pass all our testings,
Yeah.
but
My concern is that we don't get a rig till, we don't even see a chassis till middle of 2023, and we're limping along next year in the summer with the same old rig. And what does that mean from an impact of maintenance and performance and use?
well, the biggest thing is, you know, keeping up on the maintenance, making sure we're doing everything possible.
Okay.
We have mutual aid, you know, and another reason we're looking at replacing this truck is it's a 2-door cab truck. It hauls 2 people for a truck that takes 13 people to use, so we wanna go to a crew cab to get more manpower out there right away.
I get it.
So it will last, hopefully. I can't guarantee any truck will last a year, but we're doing everything we can to keep it in service.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Anybody else?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Ryan, are you, this new mechanic position, when you hire on, is that something that this person would do, or to help upkeep and maintain, or do those things?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you find a chassis?
Should have ordered it in 2021.
Come on, scavenger. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Finance, Lori?
I'm not gonna read everything on my report, I'm just gonna touch on just a couple things. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. First thing is the finance software. I reached out to BSNA and Civic Systems for quotes and a demo on their software packages. We are kind of outgrowing the Banyan data system that we've been on, I don't know, long before my time here. So we're looking at upgrading that to be a little bit more user-friendly, more state-of-the-art than where we're at now. They're still using basic access as their,
Oh, my God.
so that's some of the issues that we're working with, but it's functioning for us, but I think we can do better than where we're at today. So we are looking at those 2 systems. We already looked at BSNA, and this week and next week we'll have Civic Systems. Both, well, Sartell is in the process of converting as we speak to the civic systems. And Way Park has been on that product for, I think, 3 or 4 years now. So that's one of the considerations we're making too, is what are the area cities on? Because if we have to back each other up, just like the mutual aid and other departments, we can help each other if need be.
Good choice.
The audit, we're just wrapping up a couple things with that. I'm reviewing the draft financial statements. We hope to have it for council review on May 16th, so mark that down as a fun meeting upcoming for you.
All right.
So yeah, we're just wrapping up things there. Still a little bit of work on my part with that, but, and the other thing I wanted to point out is we're working on some abatement application requests that have come in. Well, one we've been working on for a couple of years. And so I'm working with Northland Securities and Taft on those documents. So, and I know other staff here have also been involved in those processes as well. So, as it pertains into their department. So, kind of a couple of highlights of what's happening in finance.
Questions for Lori?
Yep, I got one.
Yeah, oh.
Hey, your compost permits, I know we increased those. I know to people outside, are you seeing an increase or a decrease, or what are we seeing so far before it opens up here on May 2nd?
We've actually just got the permits a couple weeks ago, and I know that's been a very busy front window with those right now. I didn't look at where we're at with account, but I know that we're getting quite a few even from our website applying
No
for 'em.
pushback of the increase?
I think a couple people have asked. I haven't heard of any real challenges with it.
And then I had one other thing too. I know between obviously Therese and Chief Talfin and you, the discussion on the fire contract. I know it got pushed back. Was that more of one township or the other, or?
It's more of the St. Joseph Township, because they have, if you recall, in at your last meeting, you had a copy of the fire contract in the packet, and they have ownership in it. So it's working through those details.
Okay. Okay.
I got one question for Lori. I got a call for a lady with the late payment, whatever. I mean, she was sent to me from staff, from somebody in staff here, and I sent it back to finance. Did she ever call you, or did you get that resolved?
We've talked to this lady several times. She was at the last council meeting. There was no direction from the council, so that's what she was told. That we could not waive the fee because ordinance directs us to charge it. So till council takes any other action, that's where we stand.
I just sent her back to you because.
Good choice.
And she's called me back. So.
Good choice. Thank you, Lori. Ryan?
Yes, sir. Jeff, is there an over 50 agility test?
There can be.
Yeah,
But we're gonna film it.
I told Ryan to be there tomorrow night. Part of his job duties is being on the fire department, but.
Good. There's an over 50 recovery
And he's
day
not
too.
50 yet.
We'll Facebook Live it.
Yeah, right. Okay. Mayor, council, staff, been trying to do as much street sweeping as we can, weather permitted. It's either snowing or raining. We have had the sweeper out, and we continue to get out every day we can. Signage repair, just catching up on signage repair from the winter. As you probably realize, when a sign gets hit or knocked over during the winter, we really can't do anything until spring, until the frost is out with that sign anyways, so. Alley grading, we went through all the alleys, regraded them, graded all the parking lots. Still working on some more maintenance. I know I did tell the businesses that I would get the picnic tables out the first 2 weeks of April. They are not out yet. Again, weather's just kicking our butt. But we are looking at this Thursday. It's supposed to rain the next 2 days.
Yeah,
so.
right when it's gonna rain again. Yeah, I love it.
We did have a force main break going to St. Cloud a week and a half ago. So we had worked with a local contractor on that, had that repaired. Still conducting some storm drain flushing and backing. Spring hydrant flushing, we're looking at kicking that off next week, Monday, and that'll be an all-week event. that'll be our primary focus next week, is just to flush all the hydrants and lines throughout the city. Pothole repair, never an ending battle. I am working on getting a couple bids right now for the Kleinfelter bathrooms. So I should be seeing some bids back here shortly. And we've been working with Lori and Vicky with the cellular water meter reads. So we're moving forward and getting a plan put together. The meters are on order. As far as staff goes, nothing out of the ordinary. Upcoming events, I got park board on the 25th, council work session on the 26th, council on the 2nd, and safety training with the League of Cities on the 11th of May. Pending your questions.
Anyone? Do you want to tell council about the leak?
Oh, the gas leak?
Yes.
Yeah, so Sunday morning at some point, a resident did call in, they were smelling natural gas. It was indeed a leak underground. It's a 4-inch gas main. And from what I understand, the bolts on the valve basically rusted off. So they did finally pull out late this afternoon. The reason why they were here so long, if you see them, they were injecting air into the ground. The ground was just so saturated with gas. So who knows how long that thing was leaking, until it found its way to a manhole. But yeah, so they finally did pull out, so. Yeah.
Well, besides,
Well, in the church parking lot.
Yeah.
yeah, right, underneath the
Yes.
parking lot, so not to downplay it, but if there was a big boom down here,
Yep.
it would pretty much destroy downtown.
Yeah,
I mean, like it did
that
downtown St.
4-inch,
Cloud.
that 4-inch main
Right.
leaking that long,
Yeah.
that's one of those that puts you on the map.
So, and I asked Therese, is there anything we can get Excel or whomever to do to come in and do like pressurized tests or some other proactive
Mm-hmm.
method to figure out if there's another one about to break?
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, we've had 2 cut lines and this one was just mechanical, just
Right.
rusted away. I'd rather get in front of it than find out big boom, hey, what's that big ball of smoke down there?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing. So, and again, I don't know what it costs or anything, but I just think if we can get in front of it and find any of those others that may be about to leak or break, we'd be much better off.
So my wife and I came out of Mass, Easter Vigil at 11 o'clock on Saturday night. We were parked right there and I smelled it. Should I have called 911?
You should have called
Put it
at least
right
the
away.
local PD.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should have right away.
But it wasn't really strong, but I smelled it.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Better to be,
I could have blown up and met my maker.
Yeah.
we could only be so lucky. No, I'm just kidding around. No, you want, when you smell gas, you want to be more cautious.
Yeah.
You want to just absolutely jump,
Yeah, good thing
It's
you weren't
better
dragging a
to-
muffler pipe.
yeah.
Then we came back the next day and they're doing
Yeah.
concrete. Excel is out there. Yeah, that's where we were last
Okay.
night.
So the other question I have is, last year was a really, really dry year, and we didn't water any of the city lawns. And so is there a plan that when they come back brown, we're addressing, or we're gonna leave them all brown all year long?
No, that is not my intent.
Okay.
Not at all. So
This one? over
step
there.
one,
Just,
put some fertilizer down, get
Yeah.
some water on it, see what it does.
okay,
Step 2 would be some overseeding.
Yep.
Possibly bringing in some professional services. Maybe do some spot seeding in areas that aren't coming back nice, but yeah. No, my intent is to get a nice
Okay.
looking green space in
Okay.
the city.
I just know that there are some spots that were really, really
Yeah.
desert dry here, so,
This right back here, really.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
Dwight?
Well, I'll read you my whole report. So went to the, mine's short. I went to the Minnesota Chiefs ETI conference in Duluth. It was held this year. It was held relatively quick because the COVID last year, they canceled in the spring, held it in October in St. Cloud. It was the last year in St. Cloud, so then they tried to get back on their April schedule and held it in Duluth, which will be for the next 3 years. So, went to that. Currently, the sergeants are working on reducing Ryan's used car lot. We've got quite a few out in Public Works, and the problem that we're running into is we don't want to invest a lot of staff time into cleaning these things up that have been sitting outside for 2 to 3 plus years, sometimes 4 years. Brakes are rusted on them, batteries are dead, vermin's moved into them and stuff. They don't bring a lot of money to begin with, and they do have to go to some sort of public auction. You can't just have somebody walk out there and say, I'll give you $2,000 for the whole lot. So because the state gets a portion of them, the county gets a portion of them, and the city gets a portion of it, it has to go before some kind of a public auction. So we brought in an auction person recently who has bought up a number of ours and put them on. And he basically looked at about 6 of them and said, I'll tell you what, I'm just gonna give you a $500 donation per car if you just call up Joe Prom and have him come get them. I'm not even interested in them. There's no value to them. So we're working on that right now, of just moving them out, trying to figure out how we can legally move them out that hits the state statute for them. So, but with any luck, we'll have those reduced. One of the bigger things when I got back from the conference in Duluth, I received an email the next day on Friday that we had moved on our micro grant that we applied for, the body camera grant. We were on a waiting list of over 800 applicants, and they only awarded the top 105 until money ran out. They renewed a $3 million amount, and we've been moved from the waiting list to the award phase. So I've been working on getting the rest of the data that they need. It is a one-to-one matching grant. We're looking at approximately somewhere about $32,000 to $33,000 to implement body cameras in St. Joe. So the city would be responsible for about half of that. So it's better than footing the whole bill.
Excellent news.
Students obviously are getting more active. This week they have their tentative case day planned, although nobody's still come forward to talk to me yet about anything so far. So,
Oh, you're kidding.
nope, not a word.
I called Jeff and Jody.
Yep, I understand Jeff's been gone with some kind of family emergencies or something like that. So, and then same thing with the following week. We're anticipating they'll have their traditional beer Olympics. Nothing's been discussed, so we've staffed accordingly. And if we're overstaffed and nothing happens, or maybe it rains like it's supposed to, we'll send people home. But we're gonna plan for the event in case, so. It's easier to bring people in than to hit the button and try to scramble everybody to the hall. As far as staff goes, I actually was gonna send Teresa an email about this here. I just learned from Sergeant Johnson prior to walking into the council meeting that Nathan Vossen will be starting his employment here on Tuesday, April 26th, because his last shift in Ortonville is on Sunday after midnight. He requested he not have to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday. So he'll come to work on Tuesday at 8 o'clock in the morning on the 26th. So as far as other stuff goes, we just have tomorrow myself and the 2 sergeants will be attending our Minnesota Safety and Loss Control Workshop put on by League of Minnesota Cities at the Rivers Edge Convention Center. A lot of good topics, very pertinent to what we're doing. Other than that, if you have any questions, I will pass it over to Rick. Yes?
Yes.
Does Vossen get sworn in, or is he already in because he's already a cop in Orton?
Oh, he'll get sworn in.
here.
Yep, as soon as the next, I would say the next council meeting that
Okay.
we bring him on board, he'll come in.
Caleb, big print, short sentences.
Yep, lots of commas.
Thanks. Any questions? So I just have a couple of things. Well, and maybe, I wasn't at the CVB meeting. Were you at the CVB meeting?
Yeah.
Can you just give us a quick update?
Sure. And I'm sorry I didn't have my notes with me, but there was 5 that were there. Nate had let us know that he wasn't coming either. But they talked about the signs for the granting for that and being able to get that going for the summer.
On the Wobegon?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we also talked about Kim Pergancy is retiring, so we're gonna have to be looking at bringing on a new member. She had asked if she'd like to request some ideas from the CSB, and Mary and the rest of them said, yes, that would be great. So she will bring forth the next meeting some ideas for us to be able to look at. And then we just kind of talked about a little bit more of the advertisement that was coming up, because it went pretty well in February for the culmination of the app, if you've been talking about that. So February, I forgot what she called it. Thank you. And so it went well, and so we're going to be doing that again in June. So Jump in June, I think she called it. And then also we are talking about, which will be going into the next meeting, about collaborating more about advertising with the events that are going on. And so I'm kind of excited about that with everything that's coming down the pipe.
Good. Thank you, Kelly. So I have actually one report, and that's I mean, there's probably a couple of meetings I went to, but the big meeting I went to was, and I think Kevin was in there as well, the League of Minnesota Cities presented or was it the Coalition? Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities presented the LGA formulas. And so under the existing formula, there's a package that adds new money to it, and we get an increase, and everybody gets an increase. And then there's a new formula which actually doubles what we have today. And so the discussion is, do you just go with an increase and the Senate and House roll over and they look at the formula again, or can we get enough push to actually redo the formula? And the difference in the formula is some of the calculations for unmet needs, although nobody really could describe what that meant. So we're going to push back at our legislatures to look at the new formula at a more detail and see if that makes more sense. It actually does. I don't know, maybe you saw it, Lori. It kind of doubles what we have today. 1.6 to 3.0 or something, right?
I think it tries to further define what that unmet
Yeah.
need is, and they're going to look at property taxes, like what you have in a commercial and industrial tax base versus residential. So it further, I think, kind of defines that, and yes, it would benefit the city of St. Joseph on their proposal.
So even if they don't do anything, if they don't go with the new formula, there still is another 80 million or 100 million going into LGA, and we'll get an increase. But we're pushing for a formula change because it drastically changes. Even some of the cities that don't get LGA would get LGA with this new formula. So that's actually the big news. I didn't realize it was such a drastic change. Questions, comments? Anything else going on? Staff?
Okay, sorry. If I may add.
Sure.
First, thank you for moving up and getting our notes on Thursday instead of Friday. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Also, thank you to all the staff. I know we're gonna be going in with our Little Tails wagon in the summer here, and so I just wanna say thank you ahead of time for everybody. One question I do have is, I had requested for onboarding packet for new council members. And I was just wondering if you had accumulated anything from that. I think with the election coming up, who knows who might be in those 3 seats, we don't know. But I think that would be really great. I think for your guys too, is to be able to have somebody that's hitting the ground running for you guys too. And so being able to formulate that before elections would be great. Did we have anything in the hopper yet?
I mean, we do have that binder that we give people that run for office. And then also after they're elected, they get information too. So they get ordinances, they get Robert's Rules of Order, they get a bunch of memos from the league. And then there's also that new election training that the league puts on.
Right.
And that's very beneficial.
Well, I did realize that when I got to meet with each one of you, and I think it's really important that, especially for myself as a new counselor, when I initiated that, I think it was helpful for me. I don't know if it was for the staff, but I think, and I don't mean to make it so simpleton, but it's almost kind of, if, that council, if these guys are back on, then yeah, you ain't gonna be able to have to handle it to them. But for myself, that's new. It was really, it would be nicer if we had a little bit more of a narrow, simpleton, and that person can say, no, I'm good to go. Or, here, you can set up your own interview. Here's the staff, give them a call. Next one would be, did you check on the information and interviews for that? Checking in with Therese, and just really accumulating that relationship right off the bat. I guess I feel that that's really important. I don't know, speaking to Kevin and John when they were coming on, I mean, do you feel that you would feel more comfortable with a little bit more of an onboard packet for yourself, or did you feel comfortable?
I felt comfortable. It was helpful to get the binder and other things I tapped into, and then it's just a matter of on-the-job training.
Yeah,
You know,
personally,
hope I don't screw up.
I like the binder too. I wish I could have got like a call list. Here's your people, here's your clerk, here's your assistant, here's your engineer. You know what I mean? Here's their names, here's their numbers. Because throughout the 9 months that I've been here, I've slowly accumulated everybody's number instead of just having it. And I still don't have everybody's number to be able to get a hold of them directly besides email. So that would have been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm changing my number now.
Good.
But I
So I was gonna-
I just want to say thank you, and I really do appreciate it, and just as we ask that, if there's anything that you feel, you see what we need, I feel the door's open on this side
Hold on.
too.
Yeah, go ahead, Kev.
So I just want to say, since I've been on the council for about a year, I've been inquiring a lot to staff. From Dwight, Ryan, Lori, Therese, Kayla, everybody. And they've been very responsive into helping me know what's going on. And then when I'm out of line, the mayor says, this is something you shouldn't be doing because it's open meeting
Have I
violation or
ever
whatever.
said
So I just think it takes about a year to get your feet on the ground.
Mine aren't on the ground yet.
I was gonna say, because St. Joe District is split into 13A, 13A, 14A, we're gonna reach out to the candidates and legislators to come and, kind of give their spiel to the city council. I mean, we'll have candidates on both sides, south and north now, and so it's gonna be important that we understand their positions, like, things like LGA and what our positions are in this, in the city, and what we're working on projects. So that will be coming up. I'm not sure it's gonna be done until after the session's over, though. Item 11.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone, so much.